Good evening. Welcome to another session of the Sea of Glass. Tonight we're still in the book of Genesis, because you got to come to understand that the power of the Scriptures has not been taught by religion. The full measure of the understanding of the Scriptures. All religion of the earth has failed in the worst way that you can ever imagine. It's nothing like we were taught. I remember when you were kids, you were learning catechism, you were learning this and that. That is nothing to do with the way it is. The CCD class and all that is nothing to do with that. Because you got to understand the 12 sons of Jacob. You got to understand Abraham. Abraham is the truth. You got to understand Isaac. Isaac is common sense. And you got to understand that from all that was born two twin sons. One was ambition in the understanding of ambition, and the other one was lazy. This is the way we're created. We're not created just by good alone. We're created by a person is half and half of one side or the other. Everything has to do. We were learned that, Abel was the good guy and Canaan was, the terrible guy. He killed his brother, what I mean? But the thing is, you got to learn that all these things has a meaning on us. And the 12 sons of Jacob, born to Jacob, are the understanding that comes in the understanding where the power of reason comes alive inside of us. Faith, Reuben, my firstborn. Simeon, my understanding. Now, we want to go to the understanding here of the second trip in the land of Eden. So you can come to understand who are your brothers. And who are your brother that you sold into slavery to make slave out of them. And you got to understand the power here that God, if people don't learn the Bible, whoever it is, it could be the richest man in the world, but if he doesn't learn the Bible, he's going to be vulnerable not to come back in the understanding of life. You got to be careful to understand that. If you want to be in the understanding of life, you got to come and learn the Scriptures as the Scriptures and the understanding of the Scriptures comes alive for the purpose of life itself. God is the truth. And you got to understand the Bible in that part where the truth lies in the understanding of reality. And the great power of the understanding is the glory of what God has created us to be. In other words, God created us to be children of intelligence, children of learning, children of self-understanding, children of try to understand by the pressure of your own feeling inside of you. And we are going to the second journey in the land of Egypt, where the 12 sons of Jacob, the 11 over here, are going to unite with Joseph in the land of Canaan. You got to understand that all these things, and we had shows on them to tell you that each son is a different purpose of his life. Come on, read some more of that.
Okay, like Roger said, we're doing the second journey to Egypt. Genesis chapter 43, I'm sorry. Now the famine was still severe in the land, so when they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back and buy us a little more food."
Yeah, understand the famine here. We live in the greatest famine of all time. The Catholic Church failed in every way to teach the Bible. Christianity has, really failed in every single thing. There's all these different denominations. The Jewish faith is not even close to understanding the Bible. And then the Muslim I was nowhere near the understanding of the scriptures. You got to come to understand that the scriptures inside of you, and every time there's a name popping up in that book, that name is inside of you. It's not a man. It's a power of a verb that lives inside your soul. If he talks about, you know what I mean, Reuben, you talk about faith. It becomes a verb. If you talk about, you know, a Simeon, it becomes an understanding of understanding. You know, he's the understanding angel. He's the one. And once you start going into the understanding of those 12 sons, Levi is love, and love is a verb. And Judas is the speech maker, the dialogue, the one that does dialogue, which is it's a verb. You change all the active into a verb. For here, there are men with name. But you got to wipe that out and look at these men as verbs, in the understanding of each one of the verbs. Because if people are going to stay in the Bible, they have to understand that the Bible was written on verb and verb alone. And every single part of these people, all the way down to, you know, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, you got to understand that this is something alive inside of you. It's not something dead that lived 4,000 years ago. This is a story that could be dead if you don't understand it with the verbs. Come to understand this great power is the verb. Go ahead.
When Jacob said, "Go back and buy us a little more food," but Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.' If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go down, because the man said to us, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" Israel asked, now Israel is Jacob here, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. 'Is your father still living?' he asked us. 'Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How were we to know?" he would say. "Bring your brother down here."
See, the power here is to understand all the verbs. You see, Simeon was put in prison on the last chapter there, because you had to come back to get him. And you had to, you know, and the thing is about the famine became so severe. People could not understand nothing. While the understanding of scriptures was in prison in the land of Egypt, people did not understand it. You got to understand that every one of these verbs is part of an understanding of the reality that we are come to, in what we are with ourselves, to understand this great glory of intelligence. You know, you see, what was taught by mankind so far is nothing more than with the book. And they never transferred the book into spiritual understanding. And yet, if you look at the New Testament and you see some of the parable of Jesus, you have to be born of spirit. If you're not born of spirit, you'll never be part of the kingdom of God. And yet, I don't think I know a Christian that tries to convert the understanding of the scriptures into verbs, because they are blinded by their mind and the understanding of the mind. See, the mind has to understand, and I said that 1,000 times on this show, the mind is only based on loss and gain. And you cannot understand with your mind. You have to understand it with the spirit that you have over here, and that spirit is the Lord your God. You got to understand that each one of us has God inside of us. If you can't believe that, you can't understand nothing. Because you have to convert with the power of yourself, that you're going to learn from this power to understand the glory of the scriptures. But, you know, if you try to understand it in the way of the mind, this is a story. And that story is not going to give you nothing. And all the other stories of the Bible are going to follow to be the same thing. If you're going to read about the time that Moses crossed the Red Sea, you're not going to understand that because it's a spiritual thing. It's not one thing that is done by the understanding of this little mind of ours that we have. That's your wife. That's the weak part of a human being in human understanding is the mind. Because the mind only understands if you gain something, you should go for it. If you lose something, don't. So in other words, Christianity has been teaching for 2,000 years, and they teach loss and gain. So nobody understands nothing. And it continues until this day where people are much more educated than they've ever been. And the thing is, right now, everything that Christianity preaches is questioned by the people because they don't understand the great power of translating the understanding of spiritual understanding into spiritual value. They don't do that. It's only, if you listen to the preacher, you're going to go to heaven. That's a gain. If you don't listen to him, you're going to go to hell. That's a loss. So everybody thinks they're part of that gain. And every time that people say, well, I'm saved, I believe in Jesus. You see, there's no power in this. There's no glory in here. Jesus is just a man like the rest of us. He can't save you any more than anything else. That preacher that preached to you cannot save the people that goes to that church because he hasn't got the understanding of a spiritual value. And if he doesn't change things in spiritual value, it doesn't make any sense. Now here you have the 11 sons of, well, there was 10 because Simeon was already there as a prisoner from Joseph. So they're going to see their two brothers in the land of Egypt. And as you see on the first journey, they could not recognize their brother Joseph. They did not. They did not know who Joseph was. They didn't have no idea. They thought he was an Egyptian, and Hebrew did not get along with Egyptian. So they said, okay, now we don't, who's this guy, telling us all this thing, And remember that same guy that read the dream that they were going to bow down to him are making them bow down right now. Because the power of a human being is that, did you recognize your brother when you kill all the Indians? Did you recognize your brother because you could not feel it? You could not understand the power. Did you understand who was your brother when the black man was in slavery and used to whip him to the point of no return? Did you ever understood your brother when he was part of the Nazi, the Jewish people in the Nazi, where the cruelty was so severe? This is how bad the thing was so severe. The famine was so severe. Because we cannot understand that. You cannot understand that poor Indian didn't look like a human. Didn't really understood to be like a human being. He had feathers of eagles on his head, and he had all kinds of different things that didn't look like the rest of the people, and they called them heathens, and they called them everything they can put, because they didn't recognize their brother. That was their brother. Any more than they recognize their brother now, if you look at the people in Mexico that wants to come over here. What is the understanding here that a man has to starve because he haven't got a green paper inside, a green card inside of him? If our government was any wise, they wouldn't build a wall. They wouldn't spend all that money building a wall. They were trying to make these people comfortable in life, and don't listen to the people that are only in the mind with their loss and gain. Try to understand what your feelings inside here. The feelings here tells you that these people. Now you say, well, the Indian, we didn't have anything to do with that. We didn't have anything to do with the black man in slavery. We didn't have anything to do with the Jewish in Germany. We didn't have anything, but now you have something to do with the people in Mexico, or the people that comes from a country that you don't know nothing of. And you don't want these people here. Now they have a big shut down the government, all kinds of different things, so we can put together this power. But you still don't understand who your brother is. The one you sold in slavery. This is what this story means. It's a beautiful story, but it has such a great meaning into it, that Joseph was sold into slavery into the land of Egypt. And then he had to go to prison. He had to be put on everything. He had to be put across and suffer a lot. And then he finally got a break and finally start understanding, the great power of the 7 cows and the 7 leaning cows and the 7 staff that stuck up. You see, he understood that because God was on his side. No one else in Egypt could explain that, but he did. And he became second in Egypt, next to the king of Egypt. Now, back then, a Hebrew was so detested by the Egyptian that it had to become a great miracle for this man to become second in charge. And now this man, second in charge, his brothers are coming towards him to get food because they have no more food in their countries. There's nothing to eat. Why? This is what the great famine is now. People has nothing to eat in religion because the whole thing is disrupted by the stupid, ignorant things of the mind. Nobody seems to be able to understand the glory of intelligence here. Nobody seems to understand that a human being that's starving over there and has nothing to eat, no school to go to, no life, we can't give them a little bit of charity because the president and the people in charge don't want him here. And then the whole bunch of people don't want him here. There's only a few people that said, Jesus, let me go and help them at least. We'll give him something to eat. We'll bring. But that's not what happened. It happened that, this great power of prejudice is always there to destroy the truth and to make the truth look like backward. And everybody that ever came and did not believe in the truth feel the same way, because you cannot become part of a children of God. And man, I tell you, I've been going around in Bristol, all my friends and everybody, and trying to find a single soul that don't think that these people that got no visa, they can't come here. They all tell me they got to get that green card first. But the price for the green card has went so far up, it's almost like it was in the time of the Romans to buy a citizenship. And the thing is, these people they cannot be made legal to come here because of the situation that people don't have a heart to understand that. People only have a mind, and they just think that these people are going to come here as criminal, and they're going to hurt us, and they're going to kill us. And some of these guys are just children. Some of these people are mother with children, and they're just trying to get a better life for themselves. But to the people here, they want to see these people destroyed. And that's not the way it is. Come on, read some more.
Then Judah said to Israel his father, "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice."
Okay, get us at Judas here. Now, why is Judas? Why? Because he's the speech maker. He's the one of dialogue. He's the one that teaches people how to believe in faith. See, this is inside of us. We have a human being, and that human being has a power. And Judas has the power of the speech, the power of the dialogue. And he's telling his father, I'll protect him with my life. You know, this is what the preachers are telling the people now. You know, come to my church and you will be saved. Jesus, you'll be saved through the blood of Jesus, which is a bunch of hocus pocus, because you cannot save people. And Judas could have not did anything to save his brother, because he was only one and went along against the armies of Egypt. So, but these people, they can tell you, oh my God, and you take every preacher in the United States, every Catholic preacher that teaches anything about the truth, they always brag all the time. Oh, we can save you. Oh, we can put you through this. All you have to do is listen to us and we'll take care of it. You see, this is what Judas is all about. You see, this is what having the 12 sons of Jacob inside of you. You know, you have all these 12 sons inside of you. And the power of these 12 sons come in the understanding of the great power that we understand the glory of intelligence. God, who is the truth, is the understanding of the truth, and he is also the power to live by the truth. And you have to come to understand, before you promise something stupid, something that you cannot accomplish yourself, you have to look at the facts of life and how big you are and how strong you are. Because if you don't preach the truth and you have a microphone in your hand, and that's all you do is preach with a microphone, and you tell people to listen to you and to follow you, that is not the case that the Lord wants from you. You know, you got to understand that you have 12 sons inside of yourself, the 12 sons of Jacob. You have Jacob, and you have Esau, and you have Abraham, Isaac. And you got to understand that all these things come inside of you to give you a glory of what the power that you have for yourself. And it gives you this tremendous understanding of this power that we have within ourselves. You got to understand that God has sent this power of this story on us 4,000 years ago. And he said, I compel you to learn the truth. I compel all of you to learn the truth. Don't depend on the preacher. Don't depend on nobody. Because you do have a Judah inside of you that could learn to speak right and understand everything in the understanding of life itself. But no, you depend on somebody else to do it for you. You depend on another person. Oh, we got a good preacher in our parish. He's going to save us for sure. You know, those are the people that loses people. In all the church in America, right now, they're preaching of a man and the blood of a man that they don't understand. And what we have here is the great power of the scriptures that's coming in the understanding of life on earth. God, who is God, knows all these things here. And when you want to learn these things, you have to go through him. There's only one teacher. And if you want to learn the power of the 12 sons of Jacob, you have to learn it on your own. You cannot go through a man that doesn't know what it means. You have to go here and you have to look at all the things. I remember learning these things when I didn't know where they met. And then after a while, it becomes alive inside of you. After a while, the whole Bible opens up inside of you. After a while, you begin to understand that the 12 sons of Jacob is Israel. And that's Jacob and his 12 sons. And they open up inside of you to give you the glory of life itself. Who is God? God is the understanding of all the great power of the creation. And he created intelligence for people from the understanding of Adam and Eve, from the understanding of Noah, from the understanding of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and from the 12 sons of Jacob. Once you can begin to understand that your spirit is made with these understanding inside of you, and when you begin to understand that these power, Reuben, my firstborn, becomes the glory of this glory of intelligence, that one man is above all in the understanding of the truth itself. Read some more, Rita.
Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags and take them down to the man as a gift, a little balm and a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back into the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. And may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved."
You understand that Jacob here loved his true son, loved Joseph with all his heart, and then his brother sold him into slavery. And they told a big lie to the father, and the father believed it. He thought he was dead. And then he had a second son from Rachel. And see, this was the beautiful wife that he always wanted. And he had two sons from her. He had Joseph, which is the angel of technology, the angel of the dreamer, the great power to understand things that other people cannot understand. And then he had Benjamin. Benjamin was the great power of sport and which we have in the competition inside of our heart. You see, these are the two things that people love the most in life. You see what Israel is? Israel is just one in the understanding of Israel. But the great power of what he loves is what the whole world would love. And everybody loves new gadgets, new cars, new put together, and everybody likes sports and competition. And man, you have sport in every single thing that you do. And then you got to come to understand that, you know, these are the two sons that Jacob loved the most. And these are the two sons that every one of us is going to love the most. So the great power here is to have the glory of intelligence coming inside of us with the 12 sons of Jacob. You got to understand, the other sons of Jacob are important, but they're not like these two sons at the end. And, you know, all the 6 sons of Leash, you know, are all power inside of our soul. And then you have the 4 sons of the slave girl, that we are becoming slave of it in our life. We're slave of government and God. We're slave of the understanding of business and money. We are there's 4 slaves inside of our heart that we are slave to. And then you got to come to understand that the power of these slaves that's inside of us are from the slave girl. So you can come to understand. This is what understanding the 12 sons of Jacob is all about, is to be able to understand that this is the way you were created. This is the way you were made. If you want to understand yourself, a lot of people said, I lost myself. I don't know where I'm doing. You know what I mean? I don't raise my children. They're not coming out all right. There's nothing. Why did you lose yourself? Because you didn't know where you were. You got to come to understand that these power inside of you are the sons of Jacob. And the sons of Jacob are not sons that lived 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, but they are magnificent of this great story that you can never imagine. They're inside of all of you. You have this glory of intelligence. You have the power of the 12 sons inside of you. But you got to make these 12 sons work for you. And if you lost your children and your children are lost and you're trying to live life according to the scriptures that you were taught by Christianity, well, give that up. You'll never understand the scriptures with all the lies that these people has made up. Try to understand that God has made a knowledge for you, and that knowledge comes out of you. And then you come to all the tribe of Israel. The 600,000 feeling inside of us, they came out of the land of Egypt. And when you start understanding all these feelings, you understand the purpose of the sacrifice. the purpose of the understanding, the purpose of this and the purpose of that. Because the power that you have inside yourself, it's to be able to understand this glorified human understanding that was not taught in religion, that was not brought by religion to the earth. God said, I'm going to send that to you, and it's going to come right in front of your eyes, and you'll reject it or you'll accept it. But the thing is, it has to come there someday. And this is the day of the greatest famine of all time, when people don't understand nothing no more. They don't understand the church and all the molestation of the priests. They don't understand all that, because they thought that the church was on the side of God. And the church was supposed to teach what God is. But they didn't. They failed to do it. They failed to see it. There's not a human being that's a Christian in the world now that understands what God is. You know why? Because they never learned it. They think that they have to believe in Jesus Christ to be saved. And they don't realize that if they don't learn something in this world, they're not going to know nothing. And if they don't know nothing, they can't cross over to the other side. This is what it's all about. It's to be able to understand the crossover on the other side and try to understand that God is the truth. And the great power of the truth is what we are within ourselves. You see, what happened to the world? They forgot to teach you the truth. They taught you what they thought was the truth, but they forgot to understand it for themselves first before they teach you about it. Go on, Rita. Read some more.
So the men took the gifts and doubled the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Take these men to my house, slaughter an animal, and prepare dinner. They are to eat with me at noon." The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. They thought, "We were brought here because of the silver that was put back in our sacks the first time. He wants to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys." So they went up to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. "Please, sir," they said, "we came down here the first time to buy food, but at the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks, and each of us found his silver, the exact weight, in the mouth of his sack. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put our silver in our sacks." "It's all right," he said. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." Then he brought Simeon out to them.
Okay, you got to understand that Simeon came out now. What is Simeon? Simeon is human understanding. That's what it comes from. You have this power inside yourself. You got to understand, before Jacob, which was about 4,000, there's 2,000 years there from Adam to the understanding of the great flood to Abraham. And you got to understand here that when we start understanding ourselves now, when the 12 sons of Jacob are born inside of us, we become different. We don't have the same thing as we had before. You got to come to this great power of human understanding, where God has built you into a learning machine. And if you open your heart and open your mind, you start learning into this great machine that God has made you. It's a learning process of human intelligence for the glory. Each step of these 12 sons. That's why it's important, the 12 sons. And you don't hear nobody, on TV. I turn that sometime and try to find someone that preaches in the Bible, and they all have that Jesus inside of them. They don't really understand that you got to understand the scriptures. you got to understand the 12 sons of Jacob. Nobody teaches about this. It's a story to them. And that's all it is. It's a story. They don't understand what this story is all about, but they try to teach people that it's a good story. Magnificent story. But they don't understand what it means. You see, the sons of Jacob are you. They're inside of each one of your feelings. The firstborn of Jacob to the lastborn of Simeon. This is all part of you. It's all part of your understanding that you have inside yourself to understand with. God, who is the truth, has the power of that truth inside of us so we can come to understand that these people now, the brother that sold their brother into slavery, and this is you now, each one of you, has sold your brother into slavery somewhere along the way. You say, well, I would have nothing to do with the Indian. Yes, you did. Whatever you believe today is the same fate that was done back then. What the people believed back then, and you probably don't believe that for the Indian, you don't probably believe that for the black, but look at the Mexican today. Look at other people. The whole world is in turmoil. And you sit here, you don't have to help anybody here. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is feel like a human being, that these people has the right to have the same life that I have, the same lifestyle. You believe that the Mexican should, by our government, should not be treated this way. You don't have to change nothing because you're not the president. But you should try to understand the purpose and why God sent these things upon you. He sent these things to see what you're going to say. And whatever you say is what's going to happen to you. I look at people, and I go and I tell them, you know what I mean? There's something about this that you don't understand. Oh, no, we understand everything. They got to have a visa to come here. They got to be good people to come here. They got to be, this is our land. This is our country. We don't want these invaders to come here. We see, God is the one that put that in your mind, in your mouth. So everything that comes out of your mouth is unclean. And that's what it is when it's unclean. Because you don't think straight from your mind. You think of a loss and gain. You think if these people come here, you're going to lose your job and you're going to lose this, and then you'll have to pay more tax to support them and all that. But they want to spend $5 billion on the damn wall. You know what I mean? People to keep them out of here. Spend that $5 billion to make people comfortable and try to get them home to live in and try to make them understand. This is the politic that should be in your heart. This is not the politic that we have out there. Because I talk to a lot of people about it. Nobody agrees that you should let him in, give him a visa, make him legal, and try to tell him, well, when you get a job and you get more money, you got to pay that back. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with helping people to find themselves and to find the glory of the intelligence that they have? The only reason that this country lives so good is because the Bible is meant to come and open in this country. And that's why all the people of the world want to come in this country. Not because they won't hear for the Bible, but that's what God puts in their heart to come here. So they can come to learn, and these phony little religion that they practice could be destroyed inside their heart, and then one day the generation to come and the generation to come will come to heal itself. This is what it's all about. God made this country not for the American. God made this country for all people. And that's why this country is so wealthy and so powerful and everything else. Because God said one day the people that come here will come to learn from the truth. And the truth will come to set them free. And the people that will come here will be set free one generation after another until we come to this greatest glory of all. We're going to go to the kingdom of God, which is, I feel that in 1,000 years from now, we should enter into the kingdom of God. After the 7 days of the creation are complete, and we are live a 49 life, we are going to cross over to the land of Egypt. To the land of Canaan, I mean. And you're going to be able to understand why. Because your heart was open. Because your heart wanted to learn something new. But to the people that don't want to learn nothing and think that everything is wrong, everything that is right is wrong for them, those are the people that are going to lose their soul at the end. Because God has made this day His judgment day. And whatever you say in vain, it will be used on you in the understanding of this great glory of intelligence. Because you have the 12 sons of Jacob inside of you. Your heart must come to understand what is the brother that you sold into slavery. Go ahead, read some more.
The steward took the men into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, because they had heard that they were to eat there. When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. He asked them how they were, and then he said, "How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, "Your servant, my father, is still alive and well," and they bowed low to pay him honor. As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He went into his private room and wept there.
See, you got to understand that when you destroy the Indian on the prairie, they cry. When the black people in slavery were so awfully, treated, they cried. When the people of Israel in Germany, they went behind the scene and they cried. They could not understand why people would treat him like that. They did not understand the power. But you see, you got to understand that Joseph was the first pillar of the understanding of the scriptures and the understanding of God. And Joseph was the first dreamer. And Joseph was the power to understand better than his brother at the time. So you got to understand that he understood what happened when they sold him into slavery. It was like a better for a worse, because he came to the land of Egypt and he said, "I help you save your life. I gave you grain. I sold you grain. I made you what you are." Because, you see, this is what it is to be able to find your heart. Once you find that heart of yours, and you find that heart, and try to understand the heart, that the heart has the power to understand with. And the power that it's inside the human heart there is the one that forgives people for all the wrong that they have done you. And the same heart that you have inside your soul is the one that will come to make you understand. See, the mind will never be able to make you understand the difference between a man in slavery and a man out of slavery, unless you go into slavery yourself. And then you understand the power of it. And God made the great persecution of the world come to this point that there will be a 4,000 years of total persecution in the world, that people will come to understand that that's the way to be able to open your heart to the truth. See, everything that happened back there is part of a blessing of human understanding that comes alive when you read it with your spirit. And when it comes to understanding and the living power of the Lord himself, you begin to understand that a man in Mexico, a woman there with 3 or 4 children, Love to see your children go to school and learn. Love when they speak English. Love it because the world must come to change to that power. It's not going to be a whole bunch of people hurting people for the rest of eternity, let me tell you that. And the people that are not in consent of helping each other out won't be part of the kingdom of God. Because the kingdom of God is a kingdom that will give you this understanding of special treatment from the heart. And you will understand it from the 12 sons of Jacob, that the son that was treating the worst becomes the highest of all. Because what happened here is the heart grows through pain and suffering, through the great persecution. You know, you talk to a black person sometime and he went through this great persecution. Well, not him, because maybe his great father. And you can see there's a great power in him that is not in all people. You know, it's the same thing with, because the heart has to be destroyed 1,000 times before it comes alive into the truth. This is what happened with the great persecution. People spend their life in a cage in jail for no reason whatsoever. And the person that put him in jail never went to jail himself. And the lawyers and the people that do these things to others, they think they're doing right, you know. But you got to understand that the suffering of another person has great power against you. And you will be able to understand nothing until you died and put into that tomb and where there's no return. God is the truth. And you got to understand this truth as is. Okay, Rita, read some more.
After he had washed his face, Joseph came out and, controlling himself, said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's.
I want to stop there. Why was Benjamin 5 times? Because sport people get all the money. They get all the value. You know, that's why if you get into sport today, and I see all the girls playing basketball and all the boys playing all kinds of sport, because they're going to get a little bit more than most people will. And that's what it is. One of the sons of Jacob will be treated a little higher than most people. The people of sport will come to have higher pay. And they have higher pay. They can fill yourself. They all become millionaires, and they all become part of this great glory of intelligence that they are. God is the truth, and He makes what He makes, and when He makes. See, all of these things are done by God. All of these things, if a man play football and sign a contract for $40 million, it's made by God. It's not made by man. God has protected this man as the descendant of Benjamin. Not in flesh, but in spirit. You see, people don't realize that whatever is written in this book is what is according to you and according to the power that you are. And if you're poor in the land of poverty and you don't understand and you don't make enough money to make ends meet, well, what happens? Happens that you come to the understanding of this false happiness that you have inside yourself. God, who is the truth, comes to the truth for the power of reason. This is what it means here. That everything that's done, you got to understand that God is a living God. And God, by being a living God, makes living deeds happen. And the people that opens their heart to the blessing of their flesh and to the blessing of their ability and go to the great power of themselves to learn something, they become better fed than most people. It's the same thing with a man that goes and educates himself to the power. He'll have a better job than a man that don't. And that's the way it is. Because you've got to come to understand that all those in life that went to the advancing of the great power of all laws has become greater than most. And when they become greater than most, they have more to eat and more to live for. You see, but don't forget, don't get yourself lost into this now. You got to believe in these things. And if you try to cheat your way up there, you're not going to succeed. Because the God that made the power of the signature on your so powerful is the same God that will bring you down if you do evil by it. You got to understand the power. We live in a great world, and the greatest power of that world. But we also live in the great famine. The greatest famine of all time, when a human being hasn't got the power to understand, and so he lives in darkness. But when this light will come inside of you that I tried to bring so hard to this world, I'm trying to bring this light that will come to take a human being from an animal to a spiritual power of human understanding above all human things. God, who is that truth, will make it happen for you. Okay, read a little bit more.
Well, there's only one line in this chapter.
Yeah, read that. We got a minute.
So when they gave Benjamin 5 times the food, then they feasted and drank freely with him. You want to go to the other chapter?
No, we're going to do the other chapter next time.
Okay.
Because I want to stay with the sons of Jacob. I really want to stay because people has to understand the son of Jacob in order to understand the 10 plagues of Egypt, in order to understand the power of the law, to be able to understand the real truth of the law. You know, we're not practicing the right set of laws. You know, like there was Christmas, you know what I mean? Everybody celebrate Christmas. But is it really Christmas, a holy holiday? You know, there's 3 holidays that the Bible tells you about: the unleavened bread, you know, the Passover festival, and the festival of the New Year. So you got to come to understand that these things are all learning. The unleavened bread is when they start making sense inside of you. When you left the land of Egypt, Passover, and then that's the time that you learn something new. And you go into a different lane, you know. And it's the same thing with the New Year's. So every time you learn something, you celebrate in the New Year's. But you don't celebrate with other people, with wines and beers and everything else. You celebrate by yourself because you have learned it. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope that you guys are really trying to understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Goodbye and good luck. And I hope that you understand what I said. Bye.